I know last time I was looking around instead of looking right here. It's kind of hard to focus on the little tiny thing up there.
And we're on in 3, 2.
Welcome to our podcast, Be Stronger Together. We're glad you're here, and we're going to reintroduce ourselves if you haven't met us before. I'm Stacy.
I'm Ed.
We're the Lanes, and we've gone through some pretty life-altering experiences. We just want to share those with you and bring you hope, and hope that by sharing things that we've been through and experiences that we've learned from, that we can give you some hope and help you to deal with some after effects of grieving. So we don't dive too deep into the actual grief process because we feel like there's a lot of information about that. But how do you rebuild after the grief stage? Because we don't feel there's a lot of information about that. We want to give you permission to move forward and to move on and to find joy. So as a reminder of our losses, Ed lost his lovely wife, Michelle. It was an unanticipated heart issue, and she died in his arms at home. They were married for 23 years and have 2 children, 2 daughters.
Yep. Stacy was married for 27 years. Her marriage fell apart. She wasn't the author of the divorce idea, but was blamed for it, obviously. She has 4 children. We've been friends for
20 years?
Yeah.
I did the math.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Because I moved to Kalama in 2004, immediately found you to fix my computers.
Yeah.
So
our businesses brought us together. I fixed her computer. I'd buy flowers from her for my wife. We supported each other in our grief journeys. As we stated before, I would... you would angry walk and I would grief walk.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And although you were grieving too, but
yeah,
it was a little different.
Right.
We found comfort and a chance at experiencing joy again in our friendship. And then obviously the friendship grew, and here we are. Married.
Almost 12 years later.
Yeah.
I guess it's going to stick.
Probably.
And the kids? How are the kids doing?
Pretty good, I think. Would you right here? All of our kids are adults now, and we're blessed to share our lives with them. We love them. They're doing great. We're just a big family, and it's awesome.
It's awesome. And I know that they all have their own grief journeys through our experiences, but we're thankful that we can all help each other and grow together. So I think it's interesting that we don't really talk about loss in life planning or in raising our families or even in having friendships. We don't really talk about how to manage loss or what to do after loss. But it is a part of living. None of us are getting through this without some kind of... We lose our parents. We lose friends. Sometimes it's not by death that we lose friends or relationships. It's by circumstance. Maybe they move away, and we have a falling out of some sort or whatever. There's a lot of reasons that...
politics.
Hopefully not politics. That's a really dumb reason to lose
That's
a friend.
really stupid reason.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. But what we want to talk about today is how time changes during the grief process. And our perception of what's happening changes as we're going through this healing period. And it really is a healing period after grief, after the moment or the event.
Yeah.
And we have to give ourselves permission to have that time to really, it's about rewiring our brains.
Yeah.
But it throws us for a loop in the process.
Well, we get stuck in our ways. We're creatures of habit, and it can be difficult to rethink what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thrown into a whole different life planning, lifestyle, after my divorce. So moved out of a pretty home that we had built into a little apartment. Lost friends, gained supporters that kind of surprised me, including you. Who knew you'd show up? Well, somebody knew, but we didn't see it that way, but that's okay. So I think the clock just ticks differently when we're in our grief journey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
it's kind of a time dilation without a change of gravitational force.
Right.
Yeah.
The scientist speaks. But we start to measure things in like before it happened or after it happened, right?
Yes.
When they were still here, or when I was still in the circumstance, or after this happened. So it doesn't become linear anymore. It becomes this weird timestamp of the before.
Yeah. You can call it BE or AE. Before event, after event.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. But the timestamp reminds us that we're moving forward without that person or without that relationship.
Oh yeah, everything changes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that becomes, how do we navigate that? How do you navigate moving forward when the person that you were moving with is no longer in your life? What do you do?
That's the question.
Right. That's why time changes, because your brain doesn't know how to process that information.
No.
Especially if it's a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a loss of a friendship because somebody moved away or you had a falling out over something, you go find other friends. You find a way to fill that void. It's a little harder when it's a marriage that falls apart.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to it's not a plug and play situation for most people. No. So, and then, holidays look different, right? Everything gets bigger, and we turn the page on the calendar, and all of a sudden we're reminded that, this is the anniversary of when this event happened, or this is the birthday of the person who's not here anymore. Sometimes we even get amnesia over the experience.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, my brother experienced that after my dad passed away, where he just forgot that dad had passed away. And it had been 10 months. And those are the things that throw us for a loop, because we don't even realize we're going through those processes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you talk about how time changed for you?
After Michelle passed, I say I lost a year. I didn't. I still aged. But I don't remember a lot about that year. I know I did a lot of walking, a lot of thinking. I must have been working and paying bills because my phone didn't get shut off, power stayed on, I didn't get evicted. I mean, I must have been doing things. I honestly could not tell you about them. And I have a pretty good recall. That was a year that just...
The year that wasn't.
Yeah, it was weird.
So probably a lot of muscle memory kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I was just doing the things.
Right.
But the grief process, I mean, you can tell by looking at me, I like food. I lost weight. I wasn't hungry. I didn't care if I ate. The thought of eating didn't occur to me. And I guess when it did, it wasn't a real pleasant thought, because everything we did revolved around food and family and getting together and doing the stuff. That all changed, and that was bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything was different.
Yeah. So talk about what happened to the clocks in your home, because I think this is a fascinating situation.
Just the one clock.
Yeah.
I had an old mantle clock. It was beautiful. And it would chime. We kept it wound and all of that. The day that Michelle passed away, that clock stopped at that time on that day.
I just find that very interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Blew me away.
Yeah. I journaled through my journey for a lot of reasons. There was no other way for me to really get it out. Here's the difference, I think, between your experience and mine. There are a few.
Oh yeah.
One of them is, so you didn't feel like eating, but people brought you food.
Oh,
right?
all the time.
Yeah, people don't.
Which I'm grateful for.
Right.
But
because they know that that's, you're not taking care of yourself,
Yeah.
right? So, and I know we've had friends that have been through similar situations and we've brought food. Sometimes we just don't know what else to do, so we bring a casserole or cookies or something because we don't really know how to help this person through the
Right.
grief process. But when you're going through divorce, there's still a stigma attached to it. There are no casseroles given in divorce. There's no food. I did have some friends that brought me some, and I will be forever grateful, brought me some materials I needed to start life over again. It truly was a restart. It was a hard reset of needing things. It was like when you first move out of your house, you don't have a measuring cup or a
Right.
bowl or whatever that you need, and I was supplied with that. But I wanted to journal through it because I didn't know what else to do, and I wanted to be present so that I didn't forget the lessons that were coming from it, because there were lots of lessons through it. And I've talked about this before, that sometimes my journal entries were just because I didn't really even know how to verbalize what I was feeling. But what I noticed was that in my mind, I felt like the events that were happening that I felt were worthy of writing down, I felt like they were happening, say, a week at a time. Like, it happened on a Monday, and then the next thing that happened was on 2 weeks from there. And when I journaled and I kept the dates, they were one right after another. But because my brain couldn't process a lot of what was happening, I mean, it was one hit after another, not good hits like the radio, bad hits. My brain didn't know how to process it all coming at me at once, and so I think it protected me.
Yeah.
And pulled them apart a little bit so that
You weren't
I could
overwhelmed.
cope. Yeah, right. Which I thought was kind of an interesting thing, and looking back and thinking, wow, I thought that was months that happened, and that all happened in a week. Wow, no wonder I was a mess. I don't know how I kept my business going. I honestly, I did have again, I had friends that came in and helped me and volunteered their time and talents to get things out the door, and I fake smiled through a lot of it and pretended like things were okay. But the people that really knew me, it wasn't okay. But yeah, it's an interesting perception that time does change when you're going through grief.
Yeah.
So, so what do you do that first year in that grief?
Again, I walked.
What should you not do in that first year?
Oh, what should you not do in the first year?
Do you have things that you did that you regret?
I did, and I do. And I was told, don't make any major decisions or changes in the first year.
So don't move.
Yeah.
Don't change jobs.
Right.
Don't sever relationships.
Don't sell anything.
Don't get rid of belongings.
Don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get a new pet.
I did all of it. Well, I thought life was over. I figured that was that. No more joy. What's the point?
Right.
Had a boat that was paid for.
Darn it.
I was out of debt.
And here we are.
Oops. Yeah. Don't do that.
But on the other side, don't do a big shopping spree and get yourself into debt. And then
No.
climb out of it a year later and wonder why your MasterCard bill is, $15,000 or whatever, and you don't even know what you have for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just stop in that year. And if you're supporting somebody that's going through this and you're watching them maybe make some heavy decisions, you can't counsel them out of it. They're going to do what they're going to do. But just, be there and be supportive. And, if you can help reel them back from making any major mistakes. But, we all grieve on a different timeline.
Yeah. And everyone's going to.
Yeah, for some, grief is going to be, a fairly brief process. And I think that happens more in situations where you've already been going through it. The grieving starts at the diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
And so you know what's coming. You've already started the grieving process. You've already been through the denial and the anger and the acceptance and all that. So that, when the death occurs, it's just another marker in that grief journey rather than the start of the grief journey.
Yeah.
And I think divorce is similar. Grief has been your friend probably for years. And you know, marriages very rarely just suddenly fall apart, right?
Well, that's true. Yeah.
They usually are unraveling
A
after
lead up.
Yeah.
Or down.
Right.
I guess how you look at it.
Sure. So, we can't always say your grief journey is going to be 333 days and then you should be fine. And maybe you're not. Maybe your grief takes years. Some people never get over it.
Some never get over it.
So, but hopefully you can move on past the survival mode of that first year in your brain. But also what happens is you really are rewiring your brain in that year. You're learning how to stand on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
Because if you've been in a relationship for a long period of time, you've always had somebody else to, partner with and make decisions with and do things with and, all the things. And now you're by yourself.
Yeah. You have to relearn how to do things.
Yeah. And maybe for the first time in your life.
How to think about things. Not necessarily just doing something.
Right.
But the whole process of how you go about planning it.
Right.
Is completely different.
I know this just popped into my head. So one of the things I found the very hardest thing to do alone, because, I got married pretty young. I was 21 when we got married. So, you really grow up together when you're married that young. You and Michelle got married that young.
Yeah, I was 21. She was 19.
Right. So all of the big decisions, like what kind of insurance should we get? Or, what kind of car should we, whatever. Do we go to college? Do we get this job? And then suddenly you're on your own and you're just making these decisions. And I remember finding out that my car insurance had been canceled without my knowledge. And I got a letter from my insurance company that said, if you don't renew in the next week or whatever it was, then we're going to cancel and you won't be able to renew with us at all. Surprise. So many surprises. Anyway, so I went down to the insurance office and they were so kind. And I cried through the entire thing. I just sat and bawled through the whole thing. I felt shame. I felt guilt. I felt irresponsible. That was not a good surprise to find out. And they were so compassionate. And I will always appreciate that. That was good. Jessica Wade, State Farm Insurance, Kelso. If you need insurance, go see them.
Seriously.
They're not supporting us at all, but we do pay our insurance through them. But finding those people that can help you kind of navigate the hard stuff like that, because you still got to renew your driver's license and tags on your car and all the icky stuff that change oil, whatever. And if you're helping somebody along the grief journey and they're not aware their tags have expired, just help them out.
Point it out,
or just say, let's get online and do this together.
Yeah.
Right? Just the simple things. Because they end up being big things if you don't do it right.
Yeah, and those things you're really not paying attention to. You've got other things on your mind.
Right. Yeah. So in supporting somebody, again, we'll take them a cash phone and say, call me if you need anything. Did you feel like you could call people and ask for help?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I had a pretty strong network.
That's good. Did you call and ask for help?
I think so. I just don't remember a lot about that year.
Yeah. It's really hard. It's hard on both sides. It's hard to know how to help somebody through something, and it's hard to know how to ask for help, especially if you've always been the helper, which I know you have that personality. I also have that personality. It is one of the things that I learned through this journey was that if we're all the giver, then there's nobody to help. So it's okay to say, I need help through this.
Yeah.
And if somebody asks you for help, then step in and see what you can do. And if you know you can't do it, then you'll help them find somebody that can do it. But nobody should grieve alone.
I will say, at first, that's what I preferred.
That you wanted to be alone?
Just being alone. there's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
So much changed. I wasn't annoyed by people being around me. I was just, it was like I didn't have time in my mind to really offer them, and I felt bad about that.
Because you're the giver, not the taker.
So I just needed to just kind of separate myself a little bit.
That's okay. Again, there's no book on how to do this.
No.
And not every situation is going to be the same.
No.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. All right. So if you're the one going through grief, it's okay to take time, as much time as you need to get through it. And hopefully by giving yourself permission to have that time to grieve, you build a more hopeful future. Right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. I think grief dulls as time passes, but it never goes away.
Well, and that's it. You know, when they say time heals the pain, it's really not healing. It's your perception of it changes.
It fades a little bit.
You cope with it. You learn how to cope with it, and that helps. But it is there.
Right.
It's always there.
Right. It goes with you everywhere. And it impacts every part of your world after that.
Yes.
Right? So every decision that you make, everything that's going to influence your future, everything you measure with that little bit of like, oh, I'm going to measure this, and here's the grief that's going to go with it. There's always that little pocket of, in the decision-making thing. So the follow-up to the insurance, when you and I then got married and went to the same insurance company, I didn't cry through it, but I remembered I was in the same office.
Yeah.
So then the little grief wash came back over me. And though I didn't really cry because you were with me, it was still really hard. And darn it, I didn't want it to be hard. This was joyful. This should have been a happy thing. But there was that darn grief monster. And again, they were super nice about it. And you knew how to help me through that. Do you remember what we did after that appointment?
Probably went and got ice cream.
No, it was fantastic. Somehow you knew this was going to be a struggle for me because he knows me. And we went over to the Chevy dealership and looked at the brand new Camaro. And you let me get in it and they let me start it. And it was a great distraction. It was wonderful.
580 horses of, oh, yeah.
It was...
I do remember that.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
And I so appreciated that. You knew I was going to need that to get rid of the yucky stuff. So... regardless of how we perceive time, it's going to keep moving.
Oh, time waits for no man.
It does not. So,
or woman.
Yeah. So, when we're living the experience, it's okay if time looks different. Eventually it will catch up and feel normal again.
It could, and it could stick around for a while, or it could leave you in the dust, and time is a funny thing.
I can't believe that we've been married 12 years. That time seems to go very fast. I remember even after being married just a year thinking, because both of us had long pasts with somebody else, thinking, man, are we ever going to get to the point where we're that comfortable like like you were after 20-year marriage? Or, I can't imagine what this is going to look like in 10 years. I mean, we're old. 10 years. What's it going to look like? And it's gone by so fast.
Yeah.
And it just gets better all the time.
I think so.
I think it just gets better all the time. So, and now time seems to move almost too fast. Like, let's slow down a little bit and enjoy the moment, which brings me to my next point, that once you've been through a great loss like that, you do appreciate the little things far more.
Oh. Yes. When Michelle and I first were married, we were both young and stupid, and we fought over this stupid stuff, and just, it was ridiculous. Looking back on it now, I can make that statement.
Right.
We have all got to go through that. But yes, older, we're at that point that we just don't fight over that stuff. I refuse. I'm not going to do it.
I don't want to rob our precious time with
No.
insignificant things to argue about.
No.
I'll just pick the big stuff.
Eventually we'll find something to fight about, but we just haven't yet, so.
I'm sure there'll be something, maybe a podcast. I don't know.
Ooh.
So how do we know when there's been enough time that we can move forward?
That's a great question, because it's going to be different for everybody.
And what does God say about us moving forward with our lives? Does he say you should stay in mourning and grief for the rest of your life after you lose somebody? No. So what does he counsel us to do?
Well, you pick the scripture.
So if you've seen Footloose, and we all have, we know that there is a time for everything. I believe there was even a song in the 60s about this.
Pretty sure.
Turn. Yeah. That there's a time to mourn and there's a time to weep, but then there's also a time for joy and a time for dancing and a time for laughter.
Yes.
And, life comes in cycles.
God is the author of joy.
Right.
I know a lot of people think God is just this wrathful being that... No, he's got a great sense of humor, and he's the author of joy. He is love.
Right.
Yeah.
And he wants us to experience love.
All the time.
Right. So, I think our joys get sweeter. I think our challenges tend to have a different perspective after we've been through loss. Like you were saying, is this really worth fighting over? No, it's not worth fighting over.
Oh, yeah.
It's just not. And I think one of the things that you taught me going through my own grief journey was that this is just a season in time. This is not the rest of your life.
Yes, it's only a season.
It's only a season. And that is so significant because when we're in it, it feels like that is going to be the rest of our life.
Oh, yeah, right in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you said, life is over.
That's
Never going to find
exactly
joy
what
again.
I thought. Yep.
Yeah. Never going to find happiness, never going to find joy. But, as we come out of it, we realize, how precious those even really small things are.
Mm-hmm.
Our relationships with our friends and family, and
Yep.
even just getting up in the morning, So there are blessings that come from going through the grief journey.
Oh, of course. God will use anything to in his will to the good. Anything.
Right. So if you're going through grief yourself, give yourself time to recover. Give yourself time to reimagine your life. It's going to get better. It's not going to be the same, but it will be better than it is right now if you're in the middle of your grief journey. If you're supporting somebody through grief, just hold their hand through it and be there for them. Look for opportunities to serve them, even if it's just sitting and listening and talking with them, or grief walking with them, or picking up their kids from school, or whatever needs to get done. Taking some burden off somebody's shoulders could be huge.
Yeah, if they're in grief, even the tiny things to them makes a big difference.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. That we hope that what we talk about brings you some solace and maybe some wisdom as we share our small wisdom with you. Please share this with somebody that you think could benefit from it. We were stunned about how many people watched our last video. At least I was, that you wanted to hear from us and not our silly previous podcast where we took on the
persona.
I mean, that was fun, but I think this brings a new level of personal to people. So this is God's doing. This isn't he prompts us to do this, and he prompts our topics, and the way that we write these is all from him. So if there's something that you want us to talk about, please let us know. Yeah, if you want to be a guest, we'd love to have you. There's plenty of room at the table.
We can do it through, I hate to say the word Zoom. We can do it through, a remote session, or we have other microphones and equipment that we can use. So
we'd love to have you join us. So, okay, so next time we do a podcast, we try to do these at least 2 a month, I think is our goal, right?
I think so, yeah. Every 2 weeks or so. Not
that you're marking time that way.
Please don't.
since it took us a year to get this far. But we're going to be talking about why bad things happen to good people. Because I think we have this perception that if we're good, that bad things shouldn't happen to us. And that's not accurate at all.
In any way.
No. So until then, let's be stronger together.
Do we want to say that together?
Yeah, we do.
Let's.
How about? Until then, we're going to say that whole thing together.
Saying, okay, got it. I'm going to get there. Until then.
Let's be stronger together.
There we go. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, we're not going to get that one.